Howdy ESSM 406. Welcome to Unit 2 of this class. Unit 2 is about the justifications for public policy, or specifically the justifications for environmental policy. In this unit, we're going to be looking at a fairly standard model that actually comes more or less from economics and public policy, and it's something that it's possible that you studied a little bit of in your prior economics classes, which I know most of you have taken. This model is based on the ideal of a competitive market. Now, you probably learned about competitive markets in your prior economics classes, and they're widely discussed in public. And one of the really neat things about competitive markets, according to economic theory, is that when certain conditions are met, they're very efficient at allocating resources. Now, the problem for us comes when those conditions aren't met. And a lot of environmental policy problems can be described as situations in which the conditions for a competitive market are not really met. These are actually pretty pervasive. For someone in my field, this is what we study, and we see this everywhere. Why? The requirements for the basic model of a competitive market are very restrictive. They require that information be free, that transaction costs are minimal, and that all parties to the transaction are taking part in the transaction, and there's no power dynamics between them. We actually think that this is the exception, but the allocative efficiency of the market is really cool, so we want to be able to take advantage of it. So in the next unit, we'll talk about some tools that might enable us to take better advantage of the efficiency of markets. But here we're actually looking at some of the situations in which markets fail. Now, I've given you a whole bunch of readings about this topic. It is a somewhat confusing topic if you haven't studied in economics, and this is not an economics class. So I'm not expecting you to be able to master all the details. I will also provide in the link in the discussion area below this video links to some excellent videos that explain some of the concepts in your readings that I didn't make. I'm not even an economist. I'm using this tool, this conceptual tool, and I'll talk in some of the later lectures. I think there's some limits to this conceptual tool, but I want you to be thinking about this as many environmental problems have at their root problems that prevent markets from functioning well. Okay, now in this unit, we're going to talk about 4 different kinds of market problems. The first one is called an externality, and this is in some ways the simplest one. I really recommend that you watch the video I'm going to post, which goes through what an externality is, as well as read the several readings I've posted that explain externalities and their relationship to their environment. Externalities are everywhere in our environment. The second one is called public goods, and I'm going to give you some videos that discuss each of these topics in more depth. Public goods are also very widespread. Education is a public good. National defense is a public good. Finally, we're going to talk about common pool goods. Common pool goods are what most forests and water issues are about. So they're very important, and they're issues that in natural resources we're particularly concerned about. All right, now there's one that doesn't quite fit into this schema. That's called social justice. I'm going to talk about that as well. I came up with the term social justice. That's not the term the economists would use. They would probably talk about equity concerns. I prefer the term social justice. And each one of these is a different kind of limitation to this way we're used to thinking of that markets are good. So in the next few videos, I'll be explaining this in a little bit more depth. Thank you.